Yeah. How you guys all doing? You guys all chilling, enjoying your lovely day? We got a bunch of shit on the table today, and I gotta yell at you guys about anime. Anime first. Well, should we start with the good or the bad? The bad. So I watched Fate Apocrypha. The first thing that everybody asks me when I say anything about, I was like, oh, I watched Fate Apocrypha. The first thing they say is, I can't believe you watched anything Fate. And the second thing they say is, why haven't you watched Fate Zero on Unlimited Blade Works? And I'm like, dude, I've watched Unlimited Blade Works and Fate Zero. Second of all, not only have I watched both, but why would you be surprised I like Fate? I love fantasy shit. And essentially, this is just a fantasy smackdown between famous heroes, and there's magic involved. You can't go wrong with magic, right? It's just a fucking battle royale of famous heroes throwing hands. I would recommend Fate Zero probably the most. I think it's my favorite out of all of them. And Unlimited Blade Works is also fine. However, Apocrypha is hot trash. I can't believe how bad they fucked up such cool heroes. But the problem with this whole story is that they show you in the beginning, they start with this necromancer and he summons Mordred the Saber, and I'm like, this is sick. And then they immediately cut away and they make the protagonist a homunculus, a literal homunculus. Sometimes I call you guys in the chat room homunculus, and I apologize for that. I didn't mean to compare you to such a boring ass character with zero personality. And his name is just Sig, right? Because he takes the heart of Siegfried. Like, there's even a character that asks him if he can smile, and he's like, Like, it's like, come on, man. He's got nothing. His only purpose is to live. They wasted so much fucking time. It's so bad that they spent all this time not thanking Warpticon for dropping the 4 months for Twitch Prime. Thanks very much. Can't escape from discussing Fate. I don't understand the cardboard protagonist thing at all. It was really bad. And it's one of those things where, like, halfway through, it was okay, and then Sig became the main character, and then it immediately occurred to me, this is the rest of the show, and I knew it was going to be bad. I haven't watched anything Fate-related in, like, 3 years or something. It's been a long time. I watched it forever ago, and people keep saying, who recommended it to you? The only reason I watched it is because I was chilling, and then I saw on Netflix that Apocrypha was on there or something, and I was like, oh, some Fate shit. I'll check it out. My hands don't work. I gotta watch some shit, right? There's no good Twitch streams. This is a fighting game community's fault, actually. There's no good Twitch streams for me to watch, so I was like, all right, I better check it out. It was super bad. All right, so somebody says watch JoJos. Now look, you guys have been pestering me to watch JoJos for mad long. If your hands don't work, watch JoJos. All right. So I watched the first part of JoJos. And I know everybody says this about JoJo's. They're like, yo, the first part of JoJo's is not that good. It's a lot of buildup. You know, trust me, you're going to get to part 2, and part 2 is great. So just get through first part. And I'll tell you, I watched the first part, and the first part's very good, I thought. The first part was tight. I know a lot of people don't like it for a bunch of reasons. I have some issues. First of all, Dio is the biggest piece of shit on the planet. And they didn't need 5 episodes to convince me of that. They needed 1, and they did it in 1 episode. And after that, I was like, dude, I'm sick of this guy, Dio. You don't have to spend more time showing him how much of a fucking bitch this guy is. I already know he's a fucking bitch. I already know he's a motherfucker. Yeah, he kicked the dog, and I was like, all right, well, Dio's gonna die. And when he dies, I won't feel bad at all. I was like, this motherfucker is such a bitch. And also, the very first episode was the It Is I, Dio episode, and I didn't expect that to be like the very first thing that happens. The first or second episode of the show. Dio is such a piece of shit. And there's like not a justifiable reason in my head. There's even issues they talk about in the show where he's such an asshole, and like they really just don't, they try to make him seem like a character that I'd feel bad for, and I have this pedantic response of being like, no, fuck you, Dio, you piece of shit. Thanks very much for dropping the 33. Yeah, he's a motherfucker, and I can't handle his bitch ass. But I really liked part 1. I thought part 1 was good. I haven't seen part 2 yet. But he's just an evil man who I can't feel bad for in any regards. And he turns himself into fucking a vampire because he's that much of a piece of shit that he just can't accept that he lost. I will say that the entire time I was watching part 1, I was a little upset. When Hammond got introduced, and they were harnessing energy from the world through their breathing into their limbs and shit so they can do all these tight moves and stuff, I was a little disappointed. Because I'm sitting there and I was thinking, any minute now, the Stand is going to appear. Any minute now, he's going to go to fight, and his dad's going to walk in, and he's going to bend his back, and they're gonna show up, right? Any minute now, it's gonna show up, right? Is what I'm thinking. I was waiting for it. I was like, here we go. This shit's gonna be sick. Any minute now, he's just gonna fucking start doing this shit. I was like, here it comes. It's gonna be tight. And the entire part 1, I was like, what? So yeah, I had told Ringe about it. I was like, hey man, I watched part 1 of JoJo's and there was 0 stands at all. And he's like, oh yeah, that doesn't happen until part 3, right? And I was like, this show is a fucking farce. Like, what do you mean that there's no stands at all in part 1 or part 2? You're telling me right now that these motherfuckers are gonna fight with energy for like fucking 2 parts? Like, you stupid bitches. I was so mad. I was like, oh my, what is this show? This part 1 sucks, is what I was thinking. I was like so mad about it, right? But I was like, okay. I'll let them do the Haman or whatever the fuck it is, where they're just harnessing energy in the world and shit. Why do people love Speedwagon so much? He's a necessary character in an anime, which is a character that's there to just be like, oh, he's harnessing the energy through his hands, and through his hands he's able to do this. He's there the whole time. When there's the fight at the end where all the zombies are swarming and the other masters are like, I'll handle the zombies, you handle Dio. And then like they're all fighting and shit, and then Speedwagon steps past all the zombies and then stands there with Jonathan to fight. And I was like, Speedwagon, why are you standing back? Why aren't you back there, bro? It's safer over there, away from Dio. Like, he stepped past the zombies so he could narrate what was happening, right? And I was like, come on, Speedwagon, you got to get the fuck out of there, man. This is a bad spot to sit. But I do have to admit, he is a good commentator. Speedwagon is on the mic, like, fucking dropping it. He's like, oh, he goes in for the attack, but he's frozen. Like, he's over there fucking screaming. I can get behind Speedwagon style. And when he has, the way he's dressed in the hat, he's great, yeah. But you guys love him so much, right? You guys love him so much. And I was like, I have heard the legends of Ye Olde and Speedwagon, Ario Speedwagon, but I don't know anything about him. So when he showed up, I was excited. And the Baron, pour one out for the Baron. He's a good man right there. Jonathan was a good hero. My problem with Jonathan is, like, he shows up and his whole shtick is that he is a gentleman beyond all gentlemen, right? And he's just the good in all mankind. The problem with this motherfucker is that he's hunting Dracula, right? Like, you gotta murder this motherfucker. I understand that you have to be the good in all the world, but you gotta murder this motherfucker, right? Which is what I'm happy that he was like, I have no regrets about murdering you. Kenshiro Belmont, Jesus. He shed the single tear, and he's like, I gotta handle this. And I think it was like, dude, it was such a Japanese character, wasn't he? Even the beginning of the show, how Dio and Jonathan hate each other. They can't stand each other at all, but they keep it bottled up inside and they don't say anything about it, and they just do all these actions that will not disrupt everybody else, but like will fuck with these people they don't like. Like, you have to hold it in, right? Where you're like, okay, well, I can't admit that Dio murdered my dog, but, I will, fucking hold this hatred for the rest of my life. Even when they're playing football together and they pass it back and forth and they're like, man, we're such a good team. And on the inside, they're like, I can't, like, stand you at all. I hate your guts. You're a fucking stupid piece of shit. Like, that is such a... I was watching, I was like, this is the most Japanese fucking show I've ever watched in my life. You can't disrupt the flow of everything else. So you just gotta pretend like this guy who murdered your dog is okay. But the show is very entertaining. The art style is fantastic. And I obviously have not seen JoJo's before, but when I heard the music, I knew we were about to go to a break. You know, when it starts, like, the music kicks up, and I hear it, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to get hit by the to be continued. And I only knew that because I've seen the fucking meme on Twitter and shit, but like the music kicked in and shit, and I was like, no, the episode's about to end. But yeah, so I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was pretty good. I know some people said it's a lot of buildup and it's not very good. To be honest with you, I think they skipped a lot of the training arc, and they skipped a lot of other shit, and they kind of got into the meat of it fast enough for me not to feel super bad about it. And also, I think that they didn't wait too long for our hero to develop powers and like get into things. Like, he kind of learned at a natural pace, and it was pretty fast, I guess, actually. But I thought it was cool. Everybody's asking if I watched on sub or dub. I watched on sub. I don't know, man. To be honest, part 1 just felt like I was watching Castlevania again. Anime as fuck Castlevania. He's gonna get into it. The poses and shit were tight, actually. They didn't even pose that much in season 1. I like didn't go away from part 1 thinking like, man, this was a setup for part 2. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was good. But it's the same reason why in Apocrypha, when Vlad's like noble phantasm get released, I was like, let's go. This is like one of the only good parts about this, right? I'm like, let's go. This shit's gonna be tight. You can't go wrong with hunting vampires, man. Like, I'm always down to watch somebody hunt a vampire. It's always like fucking tight, man. I'm in for it. Yeah, Dio's pose, I said this when I was watching it. I was like, dude, looking at Dio's pose makes my back hurt. Just the way he's like stretched out and shit, and the way he's standing in the moonlight. I hate Dio so much. I already know Dio's in part 3. I already know. I don't need any spoilers about anything else, but I already know he's in part 3. To be honest, like the thing about the current form of fighting, the Hammond stuff is like, it's like anything. You gather energy from the world and breathing and shit. It's a lot like other powers that have existed. So it's not like it's really like, you know, changed my life. Like, wow, they can draw energy from the world. Like, so many things have done that in time. And I know this is done a while ago, so lots of other things have probably copied a lot of the ideas of it. But, you know what's funny is like when I watch this, I have the context of how old this was in my mind. So when I watch this shit is tight to me because I'm like, man, Zoom Punch? Somebody came up with this way back in the day and was like, this shit would be tight. You have energy and you can break your arm and shit. This is such a good idea. Yeah, I mean, there's cool strategy. And it's like any anime. You know, any anime is going to have parts where the hero has some absurd strategy. And then parts where just really stupid bullshit happens. And you kind of have a nice combination of both. And that's what anime is, right? Like, it's like you have so much bullshit that happens. But also there's parts where you're like, okay, well, there's like, you know, some cool strategy behind this. I'm going to go watch part 2 probably tonight. Well, I don't know if we'll get it all done, but yeah, I'm only watching JoJos now because I got to talk to Steve about it. How lame was Split Kicks guy? That might have been the most lame guy I've ever seen in my life. So why did they even say that the Split Kick guy, his move was undefeatable? Because the first thing that happens is he does it to Jonathan. He does the splits and he goes, oh, and then he just headbutts him. And then they're like, well, his secret split attack, the Thunder Cross split attack, has never been defended. And I was like, bro, he just headbutt him out of it. You think that shit's gonna work on a fucking vampire? Are you an idiot? Zenitsu's got one strat. This guy, so you think that's gonna work on Dio? Literally everybody that fights Dio, he just grabs him and frees him. God, it's so stupid. When he did it, as soon as he ran at him and he did the kick, I was like, bro, you are not trying this strat on Dio. I was like, oh no, because you know how anime works. As soon as he stepped in and was like, I'm gonna handle Dio instead of you, I was like, oh, this motherfucker's dead. Damn, they're gonna sacrifice this dude like that? That's cold-blooded. He said, leave Dio to me. And in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, this fucking side character who just got headbutt out of his special attack, he'll definitely kill Dio. What a satisfying ending to this fucking show that would be. This fucking jobber who got headbutt out of his special attack by the main character defeats Dio instead of JoJo, huh? It's over. Like, it's just bad storytelling if he wins. So obviously he's dead. Perfect combination of offense and defense. What a jobber ass motherfucker. You got smoked.